So Chegg is an online education firm. Shares are up about 16% right now. This is the best jump since November. Basically, this company reported earnings. It said that it would cut its global workforce 23%, and it finally sort of gave a plan for growth with artificial intelligence. So this has kind of been seen as an AI loser. Shares are hugely beaten up this year. It's down more than 70%. And so this was, a really necessary development.
It down? Remind me why this thing was down. Was this kind of just down because people thought AI would put it out of business?
Exactly, yeah. It was really seen as sort of like a loser in the space. It's something that, would just get wiped out by AI. And, I think this idea that it's embracing it and it has a solution here has been really positive for shares.
Also, I should point out the short interest was really high too.
Okay.
So that could also help explain this kind of reaction in the equity market as well. What else you got?
Yeah, so I was also looking at Philip Morris this morning. The stock is down about 1%. It's sort of paired a little bit of a loss. Basically, the company said that it stopped online sales of the nicotine pouch brand Zyn after receiving a subpoena in D.C. related to flavored products, which are banned there. So basically, an investigation shows that there had been some sales of these flavored products in D.C., or the pouches in D.C., online, and some independent retailers. The thing that I think is also really interesting here is analysts raise the possibility that enforcement actions could go beyond the D.C. area. So, obviously nicotine products are always, I think people are watching them. They're always kind of up for debate. How are they being marketed? Where are they being sold? So this one jumped out at me.
What's a flavored pouch?
You want a Philip Morris story?
Yeah.
Spring 1986, Richmond, Virginia. I was a senior at the University of Richmond interviewing with Philip Morris, who was based then in Richmond, Virginia, which is a tobacco town. Go to the interview, 3 people interviewing me. During the interview, they all lit up.
As one does.
See my reaction? My reaction was, I got up and left. Said,
you
thanks.
did?
Yeah, I said, no thanks.
So they were so they lit up in the meeting, and you just stood up and you're like, guys, I appreciate it, not interested.
See ya.
Get out of here. Oh my God, that is actually a really good story. And you think they did that on purpose to gauge the reaction to that?
Yes, and this was 86 before there was any of this anti-smoking stuff. And I was, raised on my mother's lap when she had a cigarette hanging out of her mouth.
Same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, I'm not doing it, And that was back in the 80s before there was this anti-smoking stuff.
Paul, ahead of his time.
I was ahead of Mr. Bloomberg, who was doing the anti-smoking thing. This was 1986.
And I remember when, restaurants were all smoking, and then they had the whole smoking, non-smoking thing, and you're like, really? It's all air.
And when you see movies, remember, you probably don't remember, smoking on airplanes.
Oh, I remember.
Wow, that is insane.
And you're thinking, like, this is gross. Like, how did we let this happen? This is recycled air.
Exactly.
That is a good story. Carmen's got nothing. She's like, okay, guys, whatever. I'm
like,
moving on to...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Fisker. So, this is a really interesting story,
Fisker has been so beaten up. Shares are down so much. It's, trading for pennies, but shares down 55%, or actually almost 60% right now. The company filed for bankruptcy. It's an electric vehicle startup. It's just had a lot of malfunctions with its Ocean SUV. The thing that I also thought was really interesting here is this is the second plug-in car company by the same founder, Henrik Fisker, that's declared ended in bankruptcy. So it had an earlier venture that filed for Chapter 11 in 2013 after recalls. I
don't think I've ever have they produced any vehicles?
I think just they have this Ocean SUV, and it's just kind of continued to malfunction. But they
Never seen it. Yeah.
But keep in mind that Henrik Fisker designed BMW and Aston Martin sports cars.
Oh,
so he's a car. So he's a real
person.
car guy.
Okay.
I've interviewed him before. He's definitely a real car guy. But it definitely goes to the idea that this is just a really hard business. To basically be in, particularly as it's really expensive and it's really hard. And plus, when you have software bugs and you have slowing production, that's also not going to be great for Fisker.
Also went public via a SPAC, so another SPAC that has not gone particularly well.
It's kind of what Kevin Tynan, the Bloomberg Intelligence auto analyst, has been saying all along. At some point, all these companies with their technology, they got to start bending metal. They got to start making stuff and make a lot of it, and make it to a certain quality level. That's hard. And I think a lot of those companies are figuring that out now.
Yeah, and to your point, they produced over 10,000 Oceans. That's their car last year. They only delivered almost 5,000, and they were trying to pivot. They were trying to go with franchise dealers in North America rather than the direct-to-consumer pitch, which is what Tesla has.
Right.
And that just didn't happen really fast enough.